So one of the things you had asked is to go over why I believe Airmeet is a better virtual networking platform than Zoom. So the first thing I'd like to point out is Zoom is more of a video conferencing platform. It's really great if you're going to try to connect on a more casual basis. I know that a lot of companies do host webinars on there, but there is actually a webinar section of Zoom, which a lot of people don't actually utilize. The Zoom that most people use traditionally is really designed more for group conferences, phone calls. It doesn't necessarily give the same experience in an event as the Zoom webinar function does, and it definitely doesn't do the same, doesn't give the same experience that Airmeet does. And since one of the things you've said is you definitely want to provide a world-class experience, I want to show you some of the things that Airmeet does that helps with that. Now, very similar to when people started using Zoom, Airmeet is new. And what Zoom did very successfully, mostly during the pandemic, is it positioned itself as really the only option that people felt, comfortable with. They provided a lot of free trials and everything to really get people comfortable with that platform. And much like Apple did with the iPhone and many other examples in history of companies that set themselves up as the leader in a space where there was a big gap in the market that was quickly being filled by technology. Zoom was very smart, and they positioned themselves very well as a company that everybody became familiar with. But when Zoom started, a lot of people did not know how to use it, and some to this day still do not know how to use it. So I think there is still a space for those that want to use this type of technology to choose a platform, not only based on what are people comfortable with, but what's going to be the best for us long term. I strongly believe, based on the product developments that Airmeet has made even over the last several months, that it will continue to develop and provide a better user experience for everyone involved. And I think as a leader in events in the industry, somebody who does these things very regularly and has a large group and audience already that's engaged on a consistent basis, you can get your customers past your members past the initial pushback they're going to have. And because Airmeet really is so easy to use, the initial pushback is going to be strictly because people are just reluctant to anything new when it comes to technology. But the good news is this really isn't a complicated technology once you go through it the first time. So one of the obvious differences is when you go into Zoom, it's a single experience. You log in, you're kind of on that screen, similar to like the Brady Bunch days, and you can turn your camera on and off, but you can't really remove that block from the screen unless, of course, you're in a webinar. With the schedule, you're able to go backstage into an event. And you're able to control who is on the stage. You're also able to share your screen, which I know is a common feature in Zoom. The nice thing is when you share your screen, and even when you're presenting, it is crystal clear. This is a much more powerful tool than Zoom. So there are some limitations with regards to what technology you can use. But typically when someone's using Airmeet, they're doing it for a professional sort of experience, a professional conference or professional event or some sort of, CE-based program. That at least that's what we've been using it for. And the thing I've always said is if you'll buy a plane ticket and book a hotel and fly to a remote area to do an event, asking someone to take out their laptop isn't too much of an inconvenience if they can't be there physically. So yes, of course, opening up your cell phone is more convenient. Zoom does have a mobile app now. So those that want to participate in the actual session, whether they be in a speaker or an attendee, they will be able to do it to a point. But of course, we always recommend with Airmeet, especially if you're a speaker, that you interact from a laptop. I would say that's one of the major differences, if you're looking pros and cons, is that the technology isn't so flexible with different iPhones and so on and so forth. However, the reason for that is because of the power of the tool, which means if you're streaming an event, you're going to want it to look good. You're going to want it to be the best it can be and not be glitchy and people popping on and off. So I think that that combination of stability with the technology coming hand in hand with using tools and devices that are more consistent with that more powerful need, I think it's a good give and take there. The other advantages of Airmeet are you could set up multiple sessions in one event. So if you were to have multiple sessions in one Zoom, I'm sure that you could set up multiple Zoom rooms, but then people have different links to go to different rooms, or you can maybe use that same room over and over again. But if there's different timing, there could be some confusion there. This is set up more like an event. There's an event page. It shows the event. It allows people to go, from a user experience to different events and interact with each of those events on a unique basis. The other thing to keep in mind is there are chat features available so the audience can interact, and the guest speaker or host could even invite somebody onto the stage, which is really, really awesome. Once you get into the lounge, what's really great is after a Zoom, sometimes it's over and everybody leaves. But in this particular scenario, if somebody really wants to stick around and get to speak with the speaker, which is a similar experience people have in a real event. The really good thing about Airmeet that I want to point out is it allows you, and this is why I chose it for all of my Vision Show events, it allows you to mirror the experience that the attendee and the speaker and even the exhibitor are familiar with in a live event. So in a live event, it is not uncommon for somebody to approach the speaker after the event and ask some additional questions. In a Zoom call, it's a little difficult to do that. When it's over, the speaker leaves. Oftentimes, there isn't even really an opportunity for attendees to connect with the speaker unless they look them up on LinkedIn or you create some sort of follow-up email. Whereas with this, you could say, we're going to have a follow-up in the lounge. If you're interested, you can connect with the speaker, and the speaker can then come to the lounge and meet with the participants. This is one of the best features of the program, how it allows this flexible networking. And as the world evolves, we're at the very beginning, we're at the spawn of virtual networking. It's not even something a lot of people are familiar with. Similar to social media, when that first started, look at how many people really didn't take Facebook and Instagram seriously. And now it's a part of life. 1,000,000%, I would bet money on it right now, that virtual networking will be the same way that social media was. Platforms like this will have the same mainstay placement in our society that platforms like Zoom and LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram have. Airmeet is positioned to be the leader in virtual events. I've built many virtual events over the last 2 or 3 years. I had 13 for myself and 4 or 5 events for others. And I could say without any question, this is the event platform I will continue to use for interactive networking style events. I am working on, as I explained to you, other event platforms for the future. Those suit a very specific need, more from an exhibit standpoint, making interactive exhibit experiences more robust and more immersive is an emerging need, as well as exhibitors and brands and manufacturers are realizing that actual real physical trade shows were already declining in attendance and engagement prior to the pandemic, but post-pandemic, there's just way too much lack of predictability in attendance and events, and are people going to come, and is there something that's going to happen suddenly that's going to stop these events? Manufacturers and distributors and brands all over in a variety of industries, but especially in arts, they are realizing that they do need to augment their physical events with some sort of virtual event. And hybrid is something that a lot of companies are just now discovering. We are positioning ourselves as an emerging leader in developing hybrid experiences. And we plan on doing that by working with leaders in event coordination, such as Optometry Divas, to understand the gaps in their existing attendance or event planning, whether it be for attendees or exhibitors, and help them to fill those gaps by using tools like Airmeet to provide better accessibility and a better experience. I do think Zoom is a great platform if you're looking to do like a group chat or a little presentation, more one-on-one. But I think if you're looking for an evergreen events platform, something you can teach your audience to come back to again and again and again, I do believe that this is the future. And I'm glad you've decided to take this leap with me. And hopefully you'll continue to see this as a tool that can evolve as you become more comfortable with developing these virtual networking experiences. I hope that helps.